Hi. Welcome to TableTalk Friday, a D&D podcast. Three guys are going to talk to each other and give their advice and opinions on Dungeons and Dragons and whatnot. If you like the show, make sure to follow them on whichever podcast service you prefer and come back every single Friday for another upload or episode, whatever you prefer to call it. Have fun, I guess. Bye. Yeah, ta-ta. Bye. See ya. Bye. Bye. Moon Knight released today.
That?
Moon Knight, the new Marvel series on Disney Plus.
I haven't heard of it.
Featuring
Oscar Isaac.
as Moon Knight.
Yes.
Wow.
And I got to say, the effects and stuff in the episode were not up to par, but at the same time, I enjoyed it because I know nothing about Moon Knight or what to expect from the show. So learning about a character for the first time was very nice. So like getting into his story and kind of understanding what's going on here, I was like, oh, okay, this is very interesting. It's very mystery-esque. Like you don't really know what's going on, and we probably won't know till the end of the season. But I liked the first episode. Was it the best Marvel show? No, but I liked it.
Does he swear? As far as I know nothing about any Marvel superheroes that aren't in the movies, but the one thing I know about Moon Knight is that he swears.
I don't think he did.
I think he's really popular for his swearing, actually.
No, I don't recall him swearing, but at the same time, he's kind of got like a dual personality thing going on, and we only saw really one of those the whole time, so I don't know if the other one does.
I see.
So I couldn't really tell you.
Now, when you say he swears, are we talking like a Deadpool kind of a vibe?
You're asking the wrong guy about
I don't
Moon
think
Knight.
any of us know anything about Moon Knight, dude.
So this is a great topic to talk about. Yeah, we could just start making things up about Moon Knight. I mean, our 22 listeners to this episode surely won't know.
Man, I really enjoyed the first Moon Knight when it came back in 98, was it?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
when it first came out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
5 years after the release of Sonic the Hedgehog, yeah.
And Moon Knight actually he co-starred in an episode of Sad AM, the Sonic cartoon.
He did.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
I remember that. I mean, I was a big fan of the show, and now that I'm thinking about it, I do recall that one episode, same episode with the dragon and the scrolls.
But he didn't swear in that episode, of course, because that was for kids.
No, it was for kids. Saturday morning cartoons.
You know, I've heard Moon Knight is a really good cross between Spider-Man and Yahtzee. You know? Like, it's just fun for the whole family.
Drew, who told you that? Where did you hear that?
Saw it on a Rotten Tomatoes review. It was
This show is the perfect combination of Spider-Man and Yahtzee.
it's the best of both worlds, man. You get to roll in a cup, but also people swinging around.
Isn't Spider-Man fun for the whole family too, though?
Yeah, but you don't get to roll and yell Yahtzee, though. You know, there's a certain
That was one really funny trait that I found out of place in the show. Was every time he kicked a guy in the face, he would go Yahtzee.
Yeah, he didn't even have 5 letters, but he just made it happen.
That's what's so incredible about him. He really makes it work every time.
Oh,
What a guy, dude. What a guy.
Needless to say, I did like Moon Knight. I'm excited to see what happens after this, and that's not what we're talking about this week. Because this week on Table Talk Friday, we're going to get into starter quests and the monsters that you find at the beginning of your adventures. Boys, we've both played the beginning of adventures many times now. We've had anything from orcs to goblins to kobolds, a bunch of your starter monsters that I'm sure we'll get into, like delve into a little bit more. But what do you guys think? Who wants to start us out?
Well, up until about 30 seconds ago, I definitely thought we were doing Zach's Declassified Quest Survival Guide.
That's how we'll start the episode. That'll be the intro is, "Hi, I'm Zach, and welcome to Zach's Declassified School Survival Guide." Your daily dose of D&D talking about how to survive in D&D.
Yeah, I don't like that.
What a good one. What a good motto.
Starter monsters. I think that every adventure usually starts with one of a few, just like a handful of monsters.
Right.
And so goblins, as you mentioned, kobolds, orcs, or if your DM is creative, one of the others from the monster manual below that CR1 rating is mostly what we're talking about. But
bandits is a popular one too, like if you're in a tavern or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So with these starting monsters, it's easy for beginning adventures, and everyone's first D&D experience probably involves something with, oh yeah, we fought some goblins, and it was pretty much the same as everyone else's first goblin experience, depending on the experience of the DM. But
and I would say one of the best starting traits that we've seen so far, like the starting caverns that we've seen, was actually in Phandelver. I think that the original, what are they called?
Cragmaw
Cavern. That was it. So Cragmaw Cavern from Phandelver, I think, is actually a great introduction, not only because it includes a couple of encounters that put your characters like on edge the whole time, but also comes with some pretty creative like built-in traps. And if you guys don't know what Cragmaw Cavern is, it's a goblin cave basically that's near Phandalin. And along the way, while you're traveling down the road, little tiny bit spoilers for the first session of Phandelver if you ever run it. But you're traveling down the road, you come across a crashed cart and some evidence of a struggle going on leading off in a certain direction. If you continue to investigate said crash of this cart, you'll find Cragmaw Cavern, where a host of goblins have taken up. I think the dungeon is a perfect like beginner. It's not too big. It's not confusing. There's like a left passage and a right passage. The right passage leads to some stuff, and the left passage leads to some stuff. But inevitably, there is a golden path. If you go right away, it's pretty much you'll find the end. But yeah, it's a great first dungeon, and it includes an encounter, which I would say will put those first level characters, especially if you're starting at first level, on edge.
Yeah, absolutely. And so all that the dungeon really comprises of is there's goblins, there's a bugbear, and there's some wolves. And then everything else that makes this actually a pretty difficult dungeon for first-time players is that trap. So this is what sort of elevates, I think, these lowly creatures where, it's got 7 hit points.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's it. The ability to, set traps and lead the adventurers in the way that they want them to go. That's sort of how these monsters stand out, and you make memorable goblin or kobold encounters.
I would have to say I don't think there is a perfect monster to run for these lower level encounters. I think the ideal monster is actually one that's fairly unoriginal. Something I think of when I'm thinking of Skyrim or Game of Thrones, something kind of fantasy-ish. Just a simple little goblin, a simple kobold like we were talking
or
about.
Or in the case of Skyrim, just an entire dragon. At the beginning.
Yeah, just a whole dragon. But
yeah, that's a great idea. I'm glad you brought up Skyrim, Drew.
Yeah. Well, to that point, if you throw something at your players like a psychic dragon that has tremor sense, it's like that's too much going on, right? When you first start off at those low levels, you want to take the time to get to know your party. You're not worried about getting to know these monsters. You want to fight something that's normal, weak, something you could slash at twice and it dies, something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe something like, or I'll just say, let's get into some of the creative ways we can make this happen. One thing that I really liked, especially when we first started running Storm Kings, which did feature a couple of new players there. The beginning cavern, I think it's called the Glimmering Caves or whatever. After you go through the short introduction and level up once, so you are level 2 for this, you go into the Glimmering Caves, which is where a host of goblins have taken a bunch of the townsfolk of Nightstone, and there are actually multiple solutions to this problem. And I think for starting adventures and starting monsters, using the fact that they are starting characters, looking at those stats and looking at what their charisma, their intelligence is, and kind of knowing how these characters would act, because realistically, you're going against goblins. They're also just small green people. I understand, in a lot of D&D lore, you might find that a goblin is just a stupid, chaotic, evil creature, but at the same time, the way that especially we've treated goblins up until this point, they're just small, green, dumb people. And that and that's just how we've personified them. We've had some smart goblins here and there, some goblins that have invented things, which is cool. Treat them kind of like gnomes, but that's kind of the way that we've gone about using them in our games thus far. And whenever we went to the Glimmering Caves, I gave you guys multiple solutions, which you guys creatively got around. Mind you, they skipped my whole first dungeon, where they were supposed to go in here and fight off some ogres, get through a couple rooms of goblins and find their way to the leader of this this little goblin militia.
But they decided to, one, offer tribute to said goblins, bringing a stag like up to the front and offering it to the ogres. And as the ogres walk out, the bard charms both of them with his College of Glamour ability, I believe, or it was an ability he had. Maybe they were level 3. I don't know. But I believe
it did not last very long and gave us no confidence.
Yeah, something that no one thought was going to work. And then I rolled. Both ogres failed. And then they were like, okay, well, we're friends with you now, right? So take us to your leader. And the ogres put him on their shoulders. And since they're friends now, because the ogres are dumb idiots, they pick him up and they take them to their leader and they meet with him. His name was Hark. And after a conversation, managed to work out an exchange so that the villagers can go back to town and the goblins will leave them alone. And creative solutions like that, especially for these beginning quests, I think make the adventure more worth it than, yeah, we went in and just slaughtered a whole community. It was great, but hey, my mom's back.
Oh. Right. So what's nice about most of these low-level creatures that we're talking about is that they are humanoid and that they are capable of, speech. And so what you can do as a DM is say, all right, well, what do they want? And, are they really interested in fighting these adventurers who seem pretty powerful and probably could kill them all, in a fair fight? So just including that as like a nugget of something really endears these creatures to a lot of players. And I think that's maybe part of the reason why we've seen lately where Wizards of the Coast is sort of peeling back. Okay, well, we don't want all monsters or, all orcs, all goblins to be, a monolith of, culture where they're all evil. Because there's just so many damn likable goblins that I can think of off the top of my head that we've run into. So, and same for kobolds and same for orcs. So that makes it more interesting is when they're not all just evil sacks of hit points.
Or even better, even beyond being just sacks of hit points, they should be dumb. They should be idiots. Those are the most fun creatures to interact with. I don't care what level you are, whether you're at 20 or 1.
But there's nothing better than a really smart orc. Like, come on. Whenever you run across a really smart orc or an orc that runs a business, that's the best feeling when you have a character like that. I think I had one that you guys ran into briefly in Brinchander named Crackjaw.
Oh, I love Crackjaw.
Cool.
And you guys never went back. I had a side quest prepared for if you ever went back to him. He was a barkeep, and he had a quest prepared ready to go, just in case you ever went back to him. But yeah, there was never a reason for you guys to travel, a month to the north again. So yeah, when you went to Brinchander, Crackjaw, the owner of this tavern that I made up, was he was one of my favorite NPCs I made up in that campaign, and we only talked to him for 5 minutes. And I was like, yep, he's just a veteran orc who's really smart and really worn down.
Yeah, I really wanted to go back to him at one point too, but then we met Amal, and he sort of met my orc quota of likable orcs. So
I can only know so many orcs at one time,
Yeah, well, there was just no need for Crackjaw when we met Amal.
Yeah, and Amal was great too.
Yeah,
he defended my town for how long? Years? Months?
Months. I mean, he's probably still doing it.
Orcs only live to be 50, so that was a good investment of his
so
life.
Sad.
But yeah, I mean, other than, our orcs, our goblins, I think that kobolds are also very good ones to bring up. And my favorite thing about kobolds is there's such a big variety of them in the fact that, especially if you guys have checked out Volo's Guide to Monsters, there are multiple, inserts of all of these creatures where there are the spellcaster kobolds, I believe they're called kobold inventors, which are so cool. Nothing cooler, well, I guess more interesting, not necessarily cooler, than a kobold with a skunk in a cage on his back and a fishing pole with a scorpion on the end. Because they're like, I made this. You want to see this cool weapon I made? And they show you a stick with a string coming from it and a scorpion on the end. It's like, oh my god, that's cool. What does it do? And then he hits you with it, and it deals 1 point of piercing damage and 1d6 of poison damage, and that's all it does. But it's so interesting to fight with something other than that's just like a sword. He's like, no, this is way better than a sword, and it's just a stupid scorpion on a stick.
But to play off of that, that's the fun thing about these simpler, I'm going to use the word simple creatures, right? The goblins, the orcs, and things like that.
Yeah.
Because once you use them, people know what they are. So as soon as you add anything to them, it becomes a totally different thing. A goblin on a horse? What? Goblins don't ride horses. What do you mean he's got a horse? How? Goblin using a catapult? How is he? He's not strong enough to use that catapult.
Or there's the another kobold is the I believe they're called kobold dragon shields, which are the coolest because they're literally little kobolds. They have like a tin can helmet on their head. They have this really massive shield and a small spear in their right hand.
I love that.
And they are tanky, dude. They've got I don't remember their AC exactly, but they've got over 40 hit points and a higher AC than you think because they got a shield. And so bringing one of these guys in and having your like fighter go up against him, where it's like you're fighting against this kobold and he's very like weathered for his days. You know, you're going at him. He's able to block one after another with his shield, and he's getting hits back, but he's not doing more than like 4 or 5 damage at a time unless you roll max. Where it's like he's getting hits back, and it's like, oh, you guys are going like you're having an actual fight with a kobold right now. It's not just you walk up and hit him once with your 5 hit points and he dies.
That's crazy. I've never thought of a kobold as being an actual threat until you gave him a spear and shield and maybe a tin can hat.
Yeah, I'll have to show you a picture later because I think the picture in Volos is very good, and it's cute too, where it's like, oh, well, that guy's cute. Oh my god, he's killing me.
Oh.
Yeah, and so that's what these, especially like small creatures, are really good at too. Is all right, here are my list of weaknesses. What can I do to shore up those defenses and not die instantly? Because if I get hit by an attack, I'll probably die instantly.
Yeah.
Oh. See, that's the cool thing about low levels, though, especially with the orcs and whatnot, is you can destroy those things with one roll, and it feels great afterwards.
Oh yeah, I mean if you're like a monk or something and you walk up and you get that one really good like load up and punch him in the jaw and he dies, it's like, oh my god, I'm all powerful.
Yeah, my ranger in our first campaign to replace my dead paladin,
right,
opened up with there was a band of orcs that were attacking his cart. The intention of the encounter was for the existing party to come and save me, but the orcs surrounded me, and in one turn I killed all 3 of them.
And it was amazing. And we showed up and we were like, oh, did you need help?
No, apparently not.
Well, and I thought it was a great excuse to bring you into the party too, just like, that was really cool. Who are you?
Yeah, for real.
Like, are you busy today? Because we can use some help.
Yeah, our paladin and our druid just died. So
and you'll make good use of like both of those halves. What was it? What are your guys' thoughts on beginner quests though? As far as using these creatures to their fullest potential, do you guys have any quests in mind, or ones that you've run in the past, or ones that you can even just think of off the top of your head that are like, that's a great idea, like a good creative way to use these creatures?
Well, there's one particular type of these low-level creatures that is my favorite, and I've been holding off just a little bit to talk about them. But when I think about low-level quests that really are memorable, even with these low-level creatures, there's only one guy for the job, and that's Sahuagin, or Sauwin.
I knew you were going to say it, man.
Sahuagin, however you want to say it. But yeah, they're just... So, first of all, I like the fact that they're monstrous, and you can use them in a monstrous way. No one is going to be advocating for, like, the good nature of Sahuagin. So they're a good, bloodthirsty creature. No qualms about it. No one's going to feel bad about killing the evil shark man.
Yeah.
So, they're even called sea devils, colloquially. So that's fun. But starting quest, you're on a boat. Sharks attack in some fashion, or you're trying to, salvage something from a shipwreck, or, any number of reasons for you to be out on the open ocean, basically. And Sahuagin attack, and they've got their blood frenzy, so when you're, you've been hit already, they I believe they have advantage to attack you, but they're, weak enough creatures where I probably wouldn't put, like, just a first-level party against a group of Sahuagin, maybe, like, second level, but they're definitely, they pack a punch, they seem frightening, and it feels like you accomplished something when you killed them, especially in their element. Because in the water, you're like, oh shit, it threw its spear, and then now it's disappeared. I can't attack it while I'm on my boat.
And you know what? I appreciate there being a creature that I don't have to argue with. Because with a lot of the higher level stuff that we've been going into lately, every one of my creatures has to have a personality and talk, right?
Yeah.
Like every single time we go into combat, the creature can telepathically speak to you, or they speak common. So it's like, oh well, obviously the creature wouldn't just stand here and hit. They'd like get hit and they'd be like, ow, or they'd make some sort of emote like along with it. Which I know in the past we've played D&D in ways that don't really involve all of that. But now that I know more about these creatures and I can feel more of them, I'm like, it doesn't make sense if he doesn't say anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, as far as Sahuagin go, I appreciate that they're a starting creature that I don't have to act as. I can just go, and that's it.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure they only speak Sahuagin, so there's no question about that.
Yeah.
And they're also good starter creatures because you can run into just a band of lowly Sahuagin, CR 1/2 creatures, and then later on, you realize, oh well, there's a Sahuagin Baron and there's a Sahuagin Priestess, and they're cultivating giant sharks and shit.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you've got like a very compelling mid-level, big bad evil guy.
That sounds like an amazing idea for an underwater one-off.
Oh, that'd be
Start
fun.
working on it, Zach. Because I would love to play an underwater one-off where we all have characters that can swim, and we're going after like a Sahuagin Baron.
Yeah. You throw some marrow in there. They're CR2s.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Ooh. See, I'm going to say Sahuagin. Hopefully that's correct. I love them, but I almost consider them like an outlier of the simpler creatures, just because when I think of a simple creature like a goblin, a kobold, orc, they're there. They might pose a little bit of a threat or something. But when I think Sahuagin, I think sharks, and what if they drag me in the water? I could drown. They're too scary for me to be like a starting creature, I think of those little toad people. I can't remember what they're called.
Grungs.
The grungs.
Or bullywugs.
Oh, bullywugs. Those guys are so fun.
I love bullywugs. So
You like the aquatic creatures or the amphibious ones too.
yeah, and so here's the reason why. They're like goblins, but with, flavor. There's a specific thing that makes them unique, and you're not going to be running into them in every location because they're bound to water. So, you can run into this creature and then just realize, oh, okay, well, that was an interesting encounter, but I'm not worried about running into them again because I'm not in their habitat anymore. So, and that makes that one encounter pretty special.
Maybe that does make them a little less scary just because they are bound to the water, so you know to expect them when you're in the area, Like, I feel like I never know when a goblin's going to be around. They could be any hole in the ground, any sort of cave, any dungeon you're in. They could be anywhere for the most part.
I think an encounter that many DMs have run, I can't recall ever running it myself. Drew, I know you have run it because you've told me the story, is the classic bandit toll road. I think that's one that a lot of DMs have run. I have heard stories from players that I barely knew who have been like, yeah, we were on this one quest one time and these bandits had blocked off the road, or like these guards had blocked off the road, but we found out they weren't actually guards, they were bandits, and so we fought them and killed them so we could get by. And it's one of those, like, you got three choices things. You got one, you can turn around, or you can turn around and go back. You got two, you can sneak around in the night, when the bandits aren't there. Or three, or you can pay the toll and just do what they say. Or I guess there's a fourth option, is fight and kill them. So
Seth, no one ever pays the toll.
No one ever pays the toll.
Why would you pay the toll?
But that's all I'm saying is this is one of those like beginner starting encounters that I think a lot of DMs have run. I can't recall running it myself, but what are your guys' thoughts on that? I feel like at this point it might be a little overdone, but yeah, I'll let one of you go.
So I don't know if I would say it's overdone. I think it's a good average idea for a quest. It gets your players thinking a little bit. If you're first starting off, I would say don't use bandits immediately. Use something a little more simple, a little bit more maybe low intelligence, because whenever I put newer players up against bandits, the bandits have an agenda. They have an idea. They're trying to extort the players. They're trying to trick them. Brand new players, once you try to trick them, it gets weird. Because then they're confused, they feel super threatened, they start killing things that they shouldn't be killing. It just gets a little too complicated.
Yeah.
Start a little black and white.
Maybe they start eating bodies after.
Yeah,
after the
I mean,
fact.
I've never experienced that before. No, I've never experienced that before.
I'm in a dangerous land where everyone wants to kill me. I have to kill them first and eat them to make sure they don't come back.
If you don't eat the first thing that attacks you at level 1, you're not the alpha.
Shout out back to story time number 1.
God,
Go back and watch it.
I don't want to remember that one, but
Listen
you
to
guys
it.
should. Go check it out.
Okay, Zach, your thoughts on the toll road problem?
Yeah, so, in any games that I've been in, I haven't run into the toll road, but I've heard plenty of stories about it. And I do think that as an experienced player, I'd be able to tell it, coming from a mile away. But I do like the ability of bandits to not necessarily appear like monsters at first, because they're just people, and you don't even have to run into multiple of them necessarily. There's an awesome story from Zach's brother Eric, his first campaign that he ever played in, where they were resting in the forest in the middle of the night, and there was just one poor beggar person who showed up at their campsite and was basically like, "Hey, I'm starving. Could you please just lend me some fire and a few morsels of food? I'll be on my way." And that was like the inn for the bandits who were, slowly encircling the camp and, readying their bows and stuff. I think that that's really cool and, really tense. So I definitely like the wolf in sheep's clothing sort of bandit.
Yeah,
I think that that's a great, use of a low-level monster because, bandits have, 8 hit points, 9 hit points? They're not going to threaten you unless they got the edge.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect introduction to, especially maybe like an opposite guild or something like that. Maybe someone that's, or even like a second party or a party of adventurers that is going for the same goal as the party. They're not necessarily bad people, but they are trying to slow them down. So no, I love those kinds of encounters where you do have a little bit of a moral quandary going on with the fact that, oh, this is another person, which I think I bring up a lot with our goblins and our kobolds and stuff, where I'm like, hey, you're killing a person, that's a person.
Yeah, and so it really depends on circumstance as well, because I've used goblins in our Eberron setting, goblins and kobolds, as just great henchmen for like another big bad. And so, like, okay, this goblin may not be so bad overall, but he'll do whatever, Grug, the ogre, tells him to.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Grug's big and strong and scary. So that's a good way to slot them in. And it's also a good way to introduce morale and mutiny as well, because a goblin's not going to fight to the last if, he doesn't have much stake in it besides, that guy's big and scary. Well, you're big and scary. I guess I got to get the fuck out of here.
To that point, I think bandits are a great in to finding the villain or the big bad in the area, because if you're like a kingpin, you're a big criminal mastermind in the area, you're not going to do the work yourself. You're going to make the little bandit groups in the area do it for you, right? And so once they start attacking the party's not going to die to a bunch of bandits. There's no way. They're not going to do it.
I mean, they could.
They could. They're more likely to eat them. But the players can catch those bandits, and more than likely the bandits don't want to be there. They're there for the gold. They're there for a little bit of cash, right? So you beat up a couple of bandits. The last one's like, whoa, man, chill. I'll tell you exactly where the bad guy is. I'll show you where he is. And then you have more trickery involved. And another cool thing with bandits is you have the whole stealth mechanic that comes in. Because you could think goblins are going to attack you head on, maybe bugbears, kobolds, maybe use a little bit of trickery. But I feel like bandits are going to be sneaking up on you. They're going to be lying to you, trying to steal things from your pockets. You don't expect stuff to be metagaming around you as a new player.
I think another simple one is just like, your simple pack of wolves, something like that. Something that your part, maybe if you open up your campaign or your one-off with a travel setting, you get them through that simple first random encounter, which is a pack of wolves was going by in the night, and they found you, they're attacking you. I feel like that's a very simple one to start out with from the beginning. Not too much as far as creativity goes there that you can go with, unless you're using them as an in to like something like, if you're using them in maybe like a Ravenloft setting, maybe it makes a little more sense flavor-wise, but in general, like Forgotten Realms, a pack of wolves walked by, they tried to kill you, you killed them. Those are good like beginner encounters to just put people through. As far as putting them in a quest, though, not a whole lot you can do with them.
Yeah, and I will say that wolves are deceptively dangerous, especially for like level 1, level 2 players.
Right.
Because if they get their attack off on you, you have to make that strength save, or they'll drag you down to the ground, and now you're prone, and now all their attacks have advantage against you.
Now, one other one that I wanted to mention, probably one of my favorite beginning encounters, like literally level 1 quests, is the first level encounter you go through in Dragon Heist when you're in the Yawning Portal, which is literally you're in the Yawning Portal. Basically, what happens there is, if you don't know anything about this tavern, it's full of adventurers. Durnan, one of the most seasoned adventurers from Forgotten Realms lore, owns this tavern, and in the middle of it is a 40-foot diameter, just gaping hole. All the chairs and stuff are sitting around it. It's multiple stories tall, and you are, much like these other adventurers, just looking for your first leg up in the world of adventuring. So you come to the Yawning Portal for that in Dragon Heist. And the very first encounter for it, again, minor spoilers, the first session, a troll comes climbing out from the inner sanctum of this hole and tries to attack. Many of the denizens are not equipped to really fight a troll. A lot of them are either low-level adventurers or regular people, but you've been put in a place where you're nearby this thing, it's looking at you or it's near you, and you can do something about it. So your party fights it. Durnan hurries up and grabs his sword, but it takes him a round or two to do so he has to, not be in combat. So it's your job to fend off this troll for the short period of time. And I've run this encounter multiple times for multiple parties, and the coolest thing I think about it is the party can get really creative, where if that troll is near the edge, the party might go for throwing stuff on the ground and pushing it. I had a party who managed to push it in the hole, and the troll just fell back down and died, which was great. A great way to yeah, it was a great way to open it up, where it's okay, everybody's fighting, I'm distracting, and then the barbarian runs from the side and shoulder checks it right into the hole, and it's oh, they did it, they killed it. I had another time I ran it where the party just managed to fend it off. They were fighting, they were healing, they were going with it, and then Durnan comes out of nowhere and uses his sword and gets 3 slashes and is oh, thank you so much for all your hard work. What are your names? Sits down and talks to you. And this kind of opens up the party to getting adventurers in Waterdeep for the first time. Okay, well, we weren't really known before, but now that we've helped out Durnan in his beloved Yawning Portal, now we have an inn in the city. So I think that that's one of my favorite adventures as far as, getting to know a setting, which Waterdeep is this vast, huge city with tons to learn about. And Dragon Heist does a very good job giving those beginning quests of leading you in. So, again, we're not sponsored by Wizards of the Coast, but Dragon Heist, pick it up if you want to run a 1 to 5.
Yeah, and so that's one thing that I think is really attractive to me as a DM. Now that I've seen goblins, I've seen kobolds, I've seen orcs, is the idea of, okay, well, you're first or second level, but let's see how high of a CR I can get away with here. So, you're a first level party. Okay, well, what would you do if you had to fight an ogre right now? What would you do if a cyclops showed up?
Run away.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm scared.
Yeah, but there are ways to, especially higher CR creatures with a weakness, like a troll, that's perfect. It's got an easily exploitable thing about it. It takes extra damage from fire or acid, and your party can, use that to their advantage. Obviously, this has to be a group of players that knows something about D&D, but for our table, that would be perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like trolls are too scary for level 1. I would absolutely run away if I saw a troll.
Oh, same, but even that's a valid...
But would your character necessarily run away?
Yes.
Probably.
I don't know. I mean, you might make one of those headstrong characters that's just ready to die.
I don't know. What CR is a troll? At least 5, right?
Yeah, it's a CR5.
That's crazy.
But I would run it with the variant, whatever it's called, the cut off limbs option, where if you deal over 15 damage to it in a round, then you got to roll on its limb table, and maybe you cut off a leg, maybe you cut off an arm, maybe you cut off its head, and then if that damage that you did was acid or fire, if you cut off the head, it dies. So that makes it a lot more manageable for a low-level party, too.
Huh. Are trolls the only creature that we know of that have a limb chart? Because that's terrifying.
There's a version of zombies that does that.
See, but I love the idea of just constantly having to knock the zombie down over and over again. Just keeps coming back at you.
Yeah, zombies, another great low-level monster as well. If we want to talk an undead, skeletons are probably the go-to.
Oh, yeah.
But they're deceptively powerful. They've got a decent CR, and they deal a D6 plus whatever.
How about fighting a Minotaur skeleton at level 2 and getting one shot?
Yeah, that can definitely happen. 2D12.
Jeez, those things are crazy. And Yeah, we ran into a Minotaur skeleton before the boss fight that just absolutely decimated the party.
You know, mentioning D12s and that high damage at low level, there are some orcs that have great axes.
All orcs have great axes.
Well, you know, you could flavor it so there's different variations of them.
Sure.
I like a roguish orc.
Yeah. Well, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
Are you guys scared at all against level 1 players, level 2 players, of using an orc that has a D12 damage die?
Yeah, absolutely. I probably wouldn't do it.
I mean, a lot of times when I have basic creatures, I'm going with a D6 or a D8, whether they're wielding a spear, rapier, or a short sword. So especially when I'm running like goblins, they got daggers or short swords. You know, kobolds probably got like a short sword or a scimitar. The kobold sorcerer is really cool in the fact that I feel like he's almost a perfect first encounter creature, especially or maybe a level 2 encounter with a kobold sorcerer because he's got Scorching Ray. But obviously, you can use that to shoot different targets. You don't have to shoot the same target 3 times, which is kind of a little overkill for those lower levels. But the sorcerer as also, it's like he can be your typical mage. He's flying around, just shooting some firebolts off. He's not resistant to anything. He has a good bit of health, but I'd say if you're running at level 1, just nerf that health a little bit, maybe half it to like 20-something. And then, having those Scorching Rays available. Scorching Ray is so easy to flavor that I feel like he's a very creative enemy to put in one of these early encounters.
Yeah, definitely a good boss monster. And honestly, if you're level 1, I wouldn't use an orc unless it's the boss of the encounter.
Oh, yeah.
So that's replacing, if it's goblins, it replaces the bugbear. If it's kobolds, it replaces the
yeah, and this doesn't have to
sorcerer.
necessarily be level 1. In general, we're just talking about starting. So probably that 1 to 3 range.
Yeah. And for, if you really want to, test your players, I would say level 3, a band of orcs can go one of two ways. And it's
and we've
either...
only seen one and never both.
Well, yeah, in our first campaign, we did, we were at Wyvern Tor.
We got TPK'd.
Yeah, but our DM felt some kind of way about killing us like that. So
yeah, and also I was using patient defense as the monk every turn, so he couldn't hit me at all. We were still using the variant rule he came up with where mage armor works for monks. So I'm pretty sure I had either 17 or 20 AC at the time.
That's
and I was
insane.
rolling and I had patient defense up every turn for 3 or 4 turns straight because I was like, I'm not using any of these key points. I'm going to patient defense because there's 8 enemies attacking me right now. And so they surrounded me and I was dodging, and I basically did the Steve Rogers I could do this all day. I could sit here and I'll dodge you guys. I'll take the dodge action every turn if I have to. I'll keep dodging all day. We can keep doing this, or you know what? You guys win. We'll take the party and leave. And so they let us go. They were like, fine. If you're gonna keep doing this, go. You can leave. So we left, started heading out, and then we had to find another way to get rid of this band of orcs that was, terrorizing a village.
yeah. But in Volo's Guide to Monsters as well, there's a great amount of higher or intermediate level orcs as well. Which definitely go well with the same thing for Sahuagin. I feel like an orc band of a certain size is definitely a mid-level big
for
bad
sure.
evil guy.
Which is an important point at lower levels, because size matters here at lower levels. I would say you really have to watch the amount of creatures you're throwing at your players. As a player myself, I really enjoy, as a party, a group of adventurers, going up against one all-powerful, crazy, destroyer of worlds dragon, right? I think that's just the dream. That's the
Very
coolest
cool.
fight. Yeah. But as lower-level players, you really have to balance that. You can't have them fight one big thing, because it'll instantly kill them, but you also can't have them fight 5 different creatures, because that's just too many attacks, and the action economy's off. So what would you guys say is the perfect amount of enemies? Is it 2, 3?
I think it really depends on the power balance you're going for. So I'd say a great guide to the one really powerful enemy going off is the We Write a One-Off episode we did a couple of weeks ago, where we came up with a dragon that you can fight that involves teaming up with a band of kobolds in order to take it down. So I think really with what you're asking, it really depends on what kind of quest you're doing. So I wanted them to fight a dragon, even though they were level 2, but I knew going to a convention that a dragon is, people are going to want to play that. They come to Dungeons & Dragons to fight and kill a dragon. So I knew that was going to be a big draw. And by the way, we didn't talk about it that much. Sessions went great. We'll probably do like a recap episode on that at some point. But yeah, if you're looking for a guide as far as a low, like level 2 adventure that your party can go on that is very manageable as long as you don't overdo it as the DM, really pretend you're the dragon and who this dragon could be. The way that I kind of wrote him in my notes was he wasn't that smart, he wasn't that tactical, he just had like a conquest problem. And so going back to that, we write a one-off, I think we did it 3 or 4 weeks ago, is a good guide to fighting that one big all-powerful monster at low level. Other than that, I don't think a large amount of creatures is a huge problem as long as they're not crazy creatures and your dice aren't that good. Because realistically, if you're level 1 and you're going to put up against 8 goblins, each of those goblins gets one attacks and it goes for 2 turns and there's 4 or 5 left, you have a high chance of rolling a nat 20. If nat 20 is 5% on there, then you've got a pretty good chance in those like 14 or so attacks that you're going to roll one, and that could kill your player at level 1. And we don't really want to kill our players in the first session. Not that you can't and your game can't be like that, but if you're going for more of a narrative thing where your players love who they've created, might not be a good idea to kill them in the first session.
Yeah, and so to answer your question, Drew, my DM hack is throw out as many monsters as there are players and have more waiting in the wings. So, it's this first encounter. We'll see how the dice go. And then if, the players are doing really well, one orc or goblin or whoever, pulls out their horn and oh shit, they've signaled. There's more coming. Now we've got 3 rounds to take out these guys, and then the next wave will show up. Or, more will funnel in while we're finishing up this number. And that way you can sort of gauge, okay, well, if my players weren't doing so well, maybe only 2 or 3 show up instead of, another full, 4 or 5.
You got me thinking, probably a little off topic, but talking about those wave types of encounters, I've always wanted to run like Call of Duty Zombies style encounter where they have to survive so many waves and you can use your action to repair the windows and get them to not be able to come in and get you. You could use zombies, you could use skeletons, ghouls, something like that, But I think it'd be super cool to see how long you could survive.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea for like a Call of Duty zombie style, one-off or something like that. I think it's a great idea for a one-off, or I would say a mission in a campaign, and you kind of let your party know this is going to happen beforehand. Like, hey, we're going to try something different today. I think it's really cool, and let's just see how it goes. Especially if you're not planning to use this as like a kill thing, or you have an end point. If you're saying, okay, we're gonna do 10 rounds and see how this works. Which I'd say 10 rounds is a whole lot for D&D. I lose my patience around round 4 or 5, where I just start thinking, man, this is a long combat. Unless it's really interesting. If it's the big boss, like you guys are fighting Big Bad of Storm King's Thunder, I'm like, this could go all day and I'd still be into it. But if it's, say, the one encounter that I have planned for this session because I want to make sure we still have some action involved, then maybe three rounds is, I'd say, the sweet spot for me. It lasts 3 good rounds and it ends. Sweet, we made it.
I feel like after a couple waves, you give them an out. You give them some way to escape, or the horde begins to thin.
Well, no, they have to buy the door.
Well, yeah, of course, of course. If they kill enough zombies, they get points.
It's like you're captured in like a wizard's lair, and you have to put in enough gold coins in the door. But for some reason, you've lost all of them, and you have to collect them by killing the zombies.
That would be cool.
So you have to put like 10 gold coins in the doors. You have to kill 10 zombies and take a gold coin off of them.
Maybe the evil mage was animating these people through the power of these magic enchanted coins with necromancy in them.
Yeah,
and once you kill them, they fall out of their head or something.
Like what, the Phantom Rogue, where he gets the coins back for the dead people.
Yeah.
So you've got like these phantom coins. You put them in the door, and like, okay, we're getting there, and we're allowed to go out now.
Then you can get complicated, and you can have different amounts of currency. So some zombies might be bigger and stronger. If you kill them instead, you get like a gem that's worth 2 or something like that.
Yeah, you can buy feats for a certain amount of time as like perks. I love it.
That would be cool. As a one-off, just going 1 to 20.
You buy the tough feat, and your health goes up. Like, come on.
I kind of want to do this now.
We can do it.
This is exciting.
I think you would probably be the best person to plan for it, since you're gamer tag had a 935 in it for the longest time.
No, that's not true. No.
What's the significance of 935?
That's you can go ahead, Drew. You know more.
You know, I don't know the exact lore behind it, to be perfectly honest. The reason why I have it is actually two of my best friends randomly had generated gamer tags when they started out, and both of them had 935 in it.
Oh, well, 935 in Call of Duty Zombies lore is like, I believe the number like for their organization. I think it was 935 and 115 were like significant numbers.
That's something with a teleporter or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember all the lore, but I definitely did most of the Easter eggs with my friends.
Oh yeah, they were a blast.
It was so much fun. Oh man, took weeks. Like to sometimes it would take an entire day to get to the end of one where it's like we've been grinding at this for hours. Guard me while I go grab another Dr. Pepper from the fridge because I need you to stand guard and I'm gonna go do this and I'll come back. You take a bathroom break and then I'll guard you.
I remember when I was younger being on wave like 26, right? And you have to leave a crawler because you have to go to the bathroom or something like that.
Yeah.
And then your friend would throw the grenade, but he would kill him. Like, no, what are you doing? I had to go to the bathroom. And you have to wait 10 more minutes before you go to the bathroom. What a blast,
Dude,
man.
I miss those games.
Those were good.
I'm never going to play them again, probably.
No,
now.
absolutely not.
I think it's over.
I've never played Call of Duty. I've never played Zombies.
Oh, my gosh.
So
You
you never played
missed
Zombies?
out. Zombies was probably a year or two of my life of waiting for a map to come out and being like, oh, yeah, this is the new one. I got to learn the Easter egg. We're going to do this with our friends. I remember Buried on Black Ops 2 was one of my favorite maps because there was a really easy route you could run around as long as you bought all the doors in time, where it's like you're just running zombies around this route forever, just circling them up until you get to around like 38 or 40, and then your guns stop killing them at one spot you would stop to shoot because you don't have enough damage. So it's like no matter what gun I have, I can't clear the wave at this spot. So now, wrapping all the way around the map, you just got to keep running and shooting them while they're in front of you or else you're not going to make it. But I made it to around like 41, I think, was my best on that map.
See, I actually loved Nocturne Totem, which was the first map, for the opposite reason. Because I loved sitting in that room with a bunch of my friends and like, how long can we hold these guys back without leaving this room? I refuse to run away. If we run out of ammo, we will use our knives.
So yeah, we should plan this one off, guys. We'll have an episode where we write the Call of Duty one off.
Oh, might have to be the Christmas one off this year.
Oh.
They're all Santa zombies.
Yeah, I mean,
That's such a good idea.
that's actually a really good idea for the Christmas one-off.
I'll think about it. We'll see what happens.
If you wanted to slot that into a campaign, though, you just you do it like the Two Towers, Battle of Helm's Deep. Gandalf shows up. They take out the horde of zombies, and then you meet the powerful NPC or whatever.
I think that's the end of your 1 to 5 though. Like you get to the wizard's dungeon or like the enemy's dungeon, and it is set up in this really weird way, and it's like this whole maybe like carnival house or something like that. That's literally laid out like a house of mirrors, and you've got to get through it.
All right. Hold on. So you get into this mirror chamber. The door closes behind you. It's also a mirror, and then from the mirrors come like shadow reflections of the party, and they keep coming, and they're like weakened versions, of course, but you've got to like
And
get
they leave
through.
behind soul coins.
Yes, exactly.
That's too scary.
So it's literally set up like a carnival game, and you have to get through. Once you get through there, you go on to more like waves and challenges and puzzles. But that's a really good idea for a cool puzzle.
Or hear me out. There's a basketball hoop, and you got to dunk the monsters through the hoop.
You fight only gnomes.
Yeah,
Oh my
exactly. There's
gosh.
just a bunch of goblins or kobolds, and you got to dunk them.
No, you could also use the catapult. That there's a specific upgrade to a hill giant that they're like hill giant like dreadnoughts or something. No,
No,
that's
you're
the fire
thinking of
giant.
the ogre howdah.
No, I'm thinking of the maybe it is an ogre that has like a catapult on its back and it flings goblins.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it's called, ogre howdah.
You could use that mechanic, and like you have to grab goblins like from like that are coming out at you, like small goblins, or maybe they're like goblins made of toys or something like that. You grab them while they're going forward. You have to get a good grapple check or like a telekinesis or even a mage hand. They weigh less than 5 pounds. You mage hand it and put it up onto like a catapult, and you have to fling it into a goal or something.
Which
We
brings
can have
up
a cool carnival campaign, guys.
Well, you're telling me that's not in Wild Beyond the Witchlight?
No, but it's about to be.
I'm thinking now the age-old question: which creature makes the best ball for a sport?
I think a goblin.
See, I'm thinking gnomes, man, because they kind of just plummet and they stick in the ground. Like you do darts, or even
Well,
if
that's
you
not a
slam,
ball, though.
Even if you slam dunked them, they just come right down and they land. You know, they don't go anywhere.
Well, your idea of a gnome is a gnome with a pointy hat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
all gnomes
but-
have pointy hats.
Not the ones in D&D, they don't.
All of them do. No, they definitely all have pointy hats.
No, they don't.
Yep.
Drew, I've never heard of a gnome in D&D having a pointy hat.
They always have.
Unless
I'm
it was a
telling you.
player character.
It's the pointy hat ability you get when you first start.
I think a goblin is like the quintessential answer.
You know, for me, I think, and this brings up another low-level monster that I love, probably like twig blights. Those would be great.
Oh, those are fun.
Ooh.
yeah,
Kind of like little baby Groots.
Yeah,
for your,
I mean,
for your nature-based campaign, that's great.
yeah, exactly. And so, you know, blights, of course, are just evil plants, basically, evil plant men. And the twig blights are tiny, so you can just pick them up and chuck them. I imagine they're, you know, maybe just slightly bigger than like a wicker doll or something.
Well, no, you just grab a pixie and ball them up, and then just
Oh,
put
no.
and
That's so
let 'em
mean.
go.
Yeah, yeah, you could do that too.
That's so mean. You're right.
I guess Pixies and Fairies would be pretty good because they fly around. Makes me think very Quidditch, Golden Snitch kind of a thing.
Oh, yeah.
I like that.
Imagine how mean that would be. You paint a pixie gold, and then everyone starts chasing it on broomsticks.
You take someone's like glorious pet Modron and like put him on a catapult and fling him off into space.
A Modron is the golden snitch.
Oh yeah, for sure.
These are great ideas.
Yeah, I think we just came up with a lot of good ideas, and I'd also say, if you take a look at Volos or one of those other guides, there are so many good new humanoid-based monsters in there, like stat blocks in there. You know, ones based around certain classes, like your apprentice mages and your swashbucklers, their master thieves. I think all of these are great stat blocks that you can use in general for starter quests, starter guides. I mean, not all of them are starter creatures. Like I'd say a master thief is meant for a more high-level character to fight. But they make good stat blocks if you're writing your own campaign or starter story, and these are good boss stat blocks. Whenever you go look at them, there's like the Enchanter, the Transmuter, one for each different class of wizard. So Volos, I think, does a great job of putting together all of these creatures and monsters and different types of enemies that you can be fighting, and making them a little more special, making it so their stat blocks aren't just orc with 17 health. It's like, hey, here's your evoker, and they do all this evocation magic. They have spells specifically around them, very low hit points because they're a mage. And no, I love Volos for that reason. I've used it a lot recently, especially with the one-off that I ran at the convention, where I didn't even use a normal, or I knew normal kobolds had 5 health and dealt like 1d4 of damage with their slings. So I was like, okay, we're just going to worry about that here. And I only used stat blocks from Volos for the other kobolds because they are such like creative ideas. Who doesn't love a kobold throwing a skunk at you, which I used in every session I ran because I was like, it's so interesting that this guy looks, and they only have 13 health. So it's really interesting, you know, these guys come out and it's like, oh my god, this guy's going to mess me up. He's got so many tools. Skunk! And then he throws the skunk out, and the skunk does little to nothing. Like, it pops out of the cage, and then it sprays you. You make a very low DC check to save, and if you fail the check, you're like poisoned for a minute. And
They poison you?
I think it's poison, yeah.
That's
Or-
crazy.
Or something like that. So yeah, no, I loved the skunk thing, and then the skunk, it's literally up to the skunk whether it wants to stay there. Like, they leave it's written on the thing, it's like, yeah, the skunk does skunk things afterwards, basically. Like, okay, it might run away, or it might spin in circles and, like, shoot you again. So, yeah, I love the stat blocks that are in Volos. Couldn't recommend it enough, especially if you're a DM trying to write some beginner stuff.
Additionally, I will point out, we haven't talked about them at all in this episode, but drow, fantastic low-level creatures to fight
I
as
don't
well.
see drow as enemies, though, like, in my head.
No, you see, to me, I think drow are like the quintessential enemy, but it really depends. Anyway, in Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, they have just an assload of high-level drow for you to fight.
Yeah.
The drow are a great 1 to 20 villain as well, because there are so many options for different types to fight. And Dwergar are very much the same way.
Whenever I think of drow, I'm afraid to use them, though, because I think of the one type of drow that has, like, those sleep arrows or the sleep poison or something, and it's terrifying. You know that mid-fight you can just get knocked unconscious? That's insane.
Yeah.
Yep. Drow Elite Warrior has a hand crossbow. Something about you're unconscious when you're poisoned.
See, now I'm thinking of poison and the gas, and now all I'm thinking about is making a deck save against the skunk, where you'd be stinky for 1d4 hours.
No, and all the players at the convention made their saves against the skunk. So I was like, yeah, you make your save, no adverse effects, but you smell really bad.
Oh no, I stink.
Yeah, and they got like hazed by the other players at the table for it, which was hilarious.
Yeah, of course.
All right, guys. So any final thoughts on starter quests, starter monsters, anything you guys want to bring up before we wrap it up?
If you're trying to come up with something original and, there's just not inspiration striking you, you don't want to, run a social goblin encounter, or you don't want, to think up traps, just scroll through the monster manual, flip through the pages, find something of low CR and say, oh, well, I haven't used magmins before. Let's see what they're about. Because there's a lot. There's a lot of low-level creatures. We haven't mentioned, Furfnablin, deep gnomes, grimlocks, tons of them.
I would say if you're really, really lost, really confused, or you really just want to get a good encounter going, pick something very low level. Doesn't even have to be one of the things we talked about today. Something low level that you like, you think is kind of interesting. Just add a little sprinkle of flavor to it, and that's your encounter.
His sword glows.
There you go. That's it. Goblins with glowing slings.
Why?
not?
Why do they glow? I don't know.
Gonna have to beat them to find out.
And with that, thank you guys so much for listening to this week of Table Talk Friday, a D&D podcast. If you'd like to hit us up on social media, you can find us on Twitter at Table Talk Friday. You can email us at tabletalkfriday@gmail.com, or check out our YouTube channel, Table Talk Friday, which we don't have the audio uploaded just yet for all the podcasts, but we're going to get a history and get all of the podcasts uploaded there at some point. And then also, we're uploading shorts on TikTok and YouTube, so you can find a lot of our clips, some of our best moments from the shows on there. So check it out. Give us a follow. Watch all the videos. Give us some sweet, sweet views. And with that, let's go ahead and have a character take us out.
Hi, it's me, John Mulaney, and I love Table Talk Friday. I think it's my favorite show to ever watch. You should follow them on whatever podcast service you prefer. And have a nice day.
Hi, me again. Thanks for listening to Table Talk Friday, a D&D podcast. I think I said that at the beginning. If you'd like to follow the boys anywhere or send them any inquiries, anything you'd like to say to them, you can do so at tabletalkfriday@gmail.com. Once again, thank you for listening to the show. Come back next Friday. Give us a follow, rate us 5 stars and whatnot. Have a good one. See ya. Bye-bye.